guys holding up okay? It's the last day of Max. I don't think woo. We got to go back to work. Who are you wooing? What have you guys loved about, by the way, I'm clumsy even with sleep. What are you guys loving about Max? What did you guys love in terms of the experience overall? Inspiration. To get out of work. I like that. What else? Entire week has been awesome. For me, it's a great show to meet each and every one of you. For me, it's about the community that comes to Max and being able to just work together towards something and really push the creative environment. Getting a chance to meet each and every one of you. You guys are all creating something wonderful. We have a room full of creatives. We have over 15,000 creatives at this conference. It's one of the only places that you can come in the world and say the same thing. I can't think of any better place to build relationships with people and just get a chance to see cool things that are happening in the future. So for that, I'm incredibly grateful to be here. And thank you guys for waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning to be at an 8:15 class and be here as well. So thanks to each and every one of you for your participation being here. Just out of curiosity, how many of you are aspiring or currently photographers? Can you guys raise your hands for me? Awesome. How many of you are currently having difficulty making people look amazing? Awesome. I love that. I love the honesty. By the way, this is therapy, so if you guys have any issues whatsoever, let me know. I'm here. Let's have that discussion. I picked up a camera about 8 or 9 years ago for the first time, and I, by all means, never planned to be a photographer. That wasn't my trajectory in life. I used to work at a private equity company, picked it up to document a car I was restoring. That turned into taking lighting classes and workshops and getting a chance to understand people in a different way. Learning how to light people, learning how to capture emotion, learning how to work with people and have dialogue with people, that was important to me. Getting a chance to just spend time with people was important to me. So being able to capture the essence of who a human being is and what they're trying to build. From there, getting a chance to study photography. I wound up going to teach a couple workshops and whatnot. And I realized there was a niche in the market for specifically photographing men, which is weird. It's a weird niche. You know, why would you want to spend time photographing men? No offense, men. I love you guys. But when you think about even like wedding photography, right? Most people cater to who? The bride. The groom's almost like an accessory to the whole day, right? And then you kind of get quality of accessory depending on what they look like, as an example. But I remember going through somebody's class, and they had the beautiful bride as like the front headshot, and she's beautiful, and she has this glowing dress, and she had the husband hidden behind like a bush in the background. And I was like, this is not okay. Like, nobody wants to go through that. And then I also noticed that people had a hard time being creative with men. When you see different ad campaigns and things like that, you usually see some beautiful ad campaigns with women. And then you see a watch campaign with a man, and it's like, I have a watch. Right? That's kind of the thought process there. So I started really understanding or trying to understand and doing research on photographing people, what that meant, and getting a chance to just study the psychology of each and every one of us, what bothers us, with the things that innately make us not want to take a professional photograph. And here's what I mean by that. How many of you have taken a professional photograph, hired a photographer to take your portrait? Raise your hands for me. Awesome. How weird was that? It felt awkward, right? It felt like you were on stage in front of 100 or 200 people. It's not the most natural thing in the world. I realized when I had my portrait taken, it felt like being here. And this isn't the most comfortable thing in the world for everyone. There's a lot of you that are introverts that would die up here. I'm one of those. Secretly, I'm going into a cave the second I leave here. But I say that because it gave me a chance to start understanding why people perceive themselves as lesser than beautiful. We all have perceived flaws about ourselves. I guarantee if I go to each and every one of you and I go, what do you love about yourself? What don't you like? Your list of I don't like would be greater than the I like. And that's not just with women, that's also with men. And if you don't think men care about their appearance because they dress schlubby, I want you to think of how many ads you've seen for Rogaine and weight loss. Women, I understand you guys have Barbie. You grew up having to idolize this figure who's like, the waist is this big, abnormally small, and has all these different jobs, and has a completely non-realistic lifestyle. Men grew up with Batman, who has ripped abs and is a billionaire. that's something else that we have to think about as well, is like we're constantly being presented in a way that we get to see other people as better than because they have certain qualities. There's lots of men and women that just have certain perceived flaws about themselves. So I started looking at all those different things, trying to understand how can we capture a better essence of a person? How do we build up that relationship? One of the things I learned really quickly was it doesn't have to do with the camera. It has to do with conversation and communication. Those of you that are interested in becoming photographers, I guarantee that if you spend less time photographing people and more time communicating, you'd get a lot better photos. I'll say that again. The less photos you take, the more you communicate, I guarantee the better your photos are going to come out. Because when you build real relationships with real people, you get the emotion from behind their eyes. You get a chance to build up that confidence, and that's what you're trying to capture. You guys are familiar with Annie Leibovitz? You guys are familiar with Mark Seliger? Right? You have all these professional photographers. What I want you to do, not now, but what I would love for you to do at some point is go to YouTube, go look at their behind-the-scenes videos, and go look at how they interact with people. They're less so focused on the camera and the settings, and obviously they have the assistants to compensate for that, and which is why I say master your craft enough to put the camera down and know what you need to go back to. But they build a relationship with a person. They're asking questions, they're talking, they're joking, they're laughing. And then photography is almost second, because that's what's capturing the essence of a person. I think now more than ever, because of digital photography, we're so used to just holding that button, spraying and praying, and hoping that we get an amazing image. When in reality, when you guys shot film, those of you that shot film, you had a couple frames in order to capture the emotions and essence of someone, and you had to communicate those things. So what I would encourage you to do is slow down the shooting, build better relationships. Does that make sense? This is therapy. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, this is your safe haven. Just let me know. As I'm looking at photography as a whole, by the way, for those of you that are interested, I will put this up here. I have nothing to sell you guys. I have no books. I do have books that I've written. I don't want to sell them to you. They're old. They're outdated. Don't buy them. My publisher isn't here. Just download them. That sounds terrible in a room of creatives. But I want you guys to have access to tools that I've put together for free on a platform like YouTube, because I have lighting courses on there if you want to build a YouTube lighting setup at home, or if you want to learn how to take a better photograph because you bought a $50 light at home. That's going to be available for you. I also want to give you a resource in terms of being able to communicate with me if you guys have any questions or concerns. My primary body of work right now is two things. I'm a commercial and editorial photographer based out of New York City, which means I shoot ad campaigns now. Bless you. The second thing is I also work at Adobe. I'm a value consultant at Adobe. My job is to be a glorified calculator. I have 168 hours during the week, and somehow I own a production company. I also work full-time working at Adobe. But if there's anything that I can do for you guys, if you're trying to make that bridge of keeping a creative environment because you feel like you're doing a lot of manual labor at work and you just need a creative outlet and you have some questions, YouTube, Instagram, email, website, everything is that. Now, I know it's 8 o'clock in the morning. If you don't know what that means, read it backwards. I was in a relationship with somebody for 3 years, and she had no idea. I don't blame you. My body of work now, I've shot for Elle, I've shot for Esquire. On the business side, I've written for Entrepreneur Magazine. I've written 2 textbooks. I've had a chance to really understand people from a modeling perspective and their insecurities. Believe it or not, models have insecurities as well, because they're real people, right? There are things that they love about themselves. There's things that they hate about themselves. I've had a chance to transition that over to working with you and I, regular people that have their own insecurities. Again, YouTube is a great platform for those of you that are interested in content. If there's something you're trying to learn, if you guys can give me those questions as you find me on social media, let me know what is it that you're trying to learn. I try to dissect that into a 3 to 4 minute format to give you guys back, because I know nobody has time to watch an hour or 2 long video on a specific platform. For those of you that are interested, I've shot everything from magazines to editorials to celebrities all the way to regular people. And before you say those are not regular people, because the lady on the left-hand side, that's my orthodontist. Okay, beautiful woman, almost 6 feet tall. I remember being on set with her, and she's very fit, has beautiful teeth, being an orthodontist. She still wears her Invisalign trays every single day. She's been wearing them for like 3 years in a row, which you guys are supposed to wear them for like a year, because she wants the perfect teeth. Something happened in her childhood that said, I don't have perfect teeth, enough for her as an orthodontist to wear Invisalign for 3 years. The second thing is, I don't have abs. I've never had abs. They're under there somewhere. They've never shown themselves. They'll permanently hide somewhere under there, and I'm okay with that. Somebody like that, they work out 2 hours every single morning to stay fit so they look great. And there's a lot of insecurities behind her as a human being. She's like, I feel fat, I look fat in the photos, I have this, I have that. Even somebody who's beautiful still has insecurities. The gentleman on the right-hand side, his name is Charles. Charles is a good friend of mine as well. He has his own set of insecurities. He's a little follically challenged in his head. Notice I didn't say that, I thought that. In his head, he thought he's follically challenged. He thought that he didn't have the best skin in the world. He thought that, plus, plus, plus. He has all these feelings about himself that aren't necessarily true. And I guarantee if you go to yourself and you say, I hate this about myself, and you go to the person to your left or your right and say, did you see this about me? 9 out of 10 times they never saw that. Whatever it is that you have as an individual, I guarantee the person to your left or right will never see. But we have all these things about ourselves that have come throughout our entire life. Whether you were made fun of for a specific thing, you know what, let's share a personal story. You'll laugh at this one because this is like me at 4 or 5 years old. I have a cousin of mine. I started to grow into them at 31 years old, but I had massive ears as a kid. Like they described it as a Volkswagen Beetle with the doors open. Yeah. So you can imagine, as a kid, I was like, that's messed up, right? Now I just share ears with like Trevor Noah. That's the easiest way to go with it. Now we just, whatever. But those things start creating insecurities for you. Even if someone else doesn't see it, all of a sudden it's like, what is that thing? Just like if you guys watch Stephen Colbert. Stephen Colbert has what, one eye or one ear shorter than the other side, and you don't notice it until someone points it out, and then you're like, I can't unsee that now, right? That's what happens. So somebody like Charles has his own sets of insecurities. Getting a chance to talk to Charles, I don't ask him, what do you hate about yourself? I just go, what do you love about yourself? What are you not so proud of? And that simple conversation led to, man, can you not make sure that like nothing happens up here? Like you can't see all of this? Now, I'm not gonna Photoshop hair onto Charles, because that's not, I could, but that's not him, right? So what I did was, in a case like that, is use a wide open aperture, shallow depth of field, focus in on his eyes, the plane of focus on his face, and less so on the top of his head. I'm not using, funny enough, for those of you that are interested in photography lighting, I'm not using a hair light. And I know that sounds counterproductive, but if I have a light up top, it's gonna create focus on that specific point. That's not necessarily where I want the eyes to lead. So therefore, a flat image, just focusing on his face, was of importance to him. When he saw the photograph of himself, especially because he'd never see himself in that handsome capacity in his mind, his head probably couldn't fit through those doors. He's an amazing guy, but what I loved is I built up his self-esteem. And I think as a great photographer, that's what you have to do for people. Even yourself. You have to believe, I look amazing. I look wonderful. I can stand out in this specific shot. And I think that's an incredibly valuable lesson for you guys. You're taking an image of someone, don't beat them down. As a photographer, I'm constantly communicating with someone, I love this about you. You're beautiful. I love this specific thing. Your cheekbones are wonderful. I love your eyes. I'll never say like, ew, this is terrible. I've never looked down and I've seen a ton of photographers do it. They're like, that's a bad photo. Let's not do that again. I've even seen photographers quite literally say, have you always had grays? Like, exactly. What is exactly what I said. Don't create insecurities for people. It's about building that conversation and building somebody up. We all have our insecurities. It's about helping someone feel best about themselves. That's really gonna help you stand apart from everyone else. I normally don't pace back and forth, but I have so much energy from 12 hours of sleep. This is what's happening right now, by the way. So, let's move forward. So the secret to photographing anyone. After the next slide, you can take a photo of it, you can walk right out that door, and you know everything about this presentation. I encourage you not to, but this is something that you should know in terms of how to photograph anyone to get the best photograph of them. And I encourage you, take a photo of the screen. It's very, very simple words. Everyone wants to look taller, thinner, and younger than they are. Anybody want to look fatter than they are in a photograph? Raise your hands for me. Exactly. Anybody want to look older, unless you're under 21? Do you want to look older than you really are? Probably not, right? Do you want to look shorter than you really are? No. So we all have this need to look taller, thinner, and more beautiful. And here's what I know as a photographer. I can use Photoshop to make those things happen, but I can also use in-camera techniques to do the same thing. So think about making somebody look taller. What's the best way to make somebody look taller? Photographing them from above or slightly below? Slightly below. But that's going to give me some extra love just under here, right? Because I'm photographing from underneath their chin. So now it's tilt forward, chin down, because now I'm compensating for the angle that I'm photographing that person at. If I wanted to look thinner, I can do that through posing and also do that through people's clothing. So as an example, I wear all black all the time. I do it for a reason. It's very forgiving. And the most difficult question I have to ask myself in the morning is V-neck or turtleneck? That's it. Everything else goes away. Younger. Younger has to do with wrinkles. It has to do with blemishes. Those are things that we see about ourselves, that we look in the mirror every single day and say, I wish I could fix that. That last portion there is probably the most critical thing that you can learn as a photographer when it comes to lighting. Lighting is everything as a photographer. You take that camera, whether it's your phone or whether it's a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, and what you're doing is effectively capturing lights and shadows. Everything else goes out the window. Just lights and shadows. Without light and shadows, you can't see anything. Light is obviously all the light in the image. Shadow is the absence of light. So all you're effectively doing is just documenting light in a specific scene. So as an example, if you guys walk outside right now, every single building out here creates its own shadow. You guys ever seen people's shadows as they walk into the shadow area of the building? Their shadows start going away, or they start kind of blending into the larger building shadow. The reason that's important to note is light changes wherever you are, but light's the most critical thing that you have as a photographer to make people look and feel better about themselves, no matter what type of photography that you're into. So I think it's incredibly important. I'm going to give you a full semester at college in like 20 minutes. I've saved you guys a ton of money. Let's go with that. So posing and lighting is the two critical things that I have as a photographer to make that happen. And I'm not joking with you in terms of understanding light. What I'm going to give you now is effectively a semester at college if you went to photography school to learn lighting. I don't care if you decide, I hate photographing people. If you're still a landscape photographer, you're photographing product, everything that I'm going to tell you today is incredibly applicable. If you want to take a better selfie, hint, hint, wink, wink, this is still applicable. Okay? So bear with me. I'm going to try not to get into too many physics and focus on creating a simple conversation here, but if anything goes over your head, this is therapy. Stop me, raise your hands, and we can go through it. No judgments. In terms of lighting, quantity and intensity. How many of you were an annoying little kid, just like I was, took a flashlight and put it under your chin, and had all these evil light, and chased people around with it? I like you guys. But when you use a flashlight, and you think about the beam of light, and it's going out into the distance, it's going out into the ether, the most intense part of the light is whatever's closest to the flashlight, right? Everything else, as it goes out, starts losing light. Well, that's important to know because no matter what light source that you're working with in the known universe at the present moment, follows those same principles. The closer you are to the light, the more light there is. The further you are away from the light, the less light there is. It's a very simple concept, right? How large is the sun? It's massive. It's huge. It's much larger than our Earth. How far is it away? Incredibly far. Right? It's very, very far away from us, which is why it looks like this big when you look at it in person. When you think about something like that, if we go closer to the sun, we're going to have a lot more light and a lot more brightness as we walk towards the sun. As we're moving away from it, we're losing a lot of light. Even the lights that are in this room, if you look on the wall to your right-hand side, you'll see that. You see the lights above hitting the wall, and as it goes down, it starts gradually losing light and losing the amount of overall intensity that that light source has. The reason that this is important to note is if I want more light on a subject, I just move them closer, or I move the light closer to them. If I was in a static environment where I couldn't move my light source, so let's say I'm taking a selfie, I happen to be at a bar, or I happen to be at an amazing hotel bathroom with beautiful lights, and it's not a large light source, and it's not creating a ton of light, I just need to step into that light source. I need to move closer to that to get more light. Just something simple to consider, and we'll talk about the properties there, but it's a very, very simple piece to consider. So what we're talking about is, it doesn't matter if it's natural or artificial, all light's the same. The intensity refers to the overall amount of light that we're seeing inside that image. Quality. Quality is going to be the way that you get rid of wrinkles. Anybody want to get rid of wrinkles so far? Yes? Therapy, come on. Who wants to get rid of their wrinkles? Thank you for being honest. If you went out at 12 p.m., right at noon, and you walked outside in the bright sun, how many wrinkles can you see? All of the wrinkles. All of them. And ones you don't have, right? How many blemishes do you see in your skin? All of the blemishes, every single one. And that has to do with the overall contrast that you're seeing of light. Contrast being the difference between lights and shadows. The more contrast you have in your image, the more likely you are to see blemishes. Now, sun's really far. It's giving a ton of light. We're getting the light to the earth. It's hitting us. We still have a lot of contrast in our skin tones. What happens when it's a cloudy day? Do we have as many wrinkles? You guys ever taken a selfie in a cloudy day? From now on, you always will. The light goes through the clouds, disperses. The clouds act as diffusion. So the light has to go through those clouds, and it has to go back out, and it starts softening the light. Now there's less overall contrast, and therefore less wrinkles that you'll see in your skin, and less blemishes. So because it has to go through something, it's softening that light source, and therefore I have less wrinkles. If you were going to photograph grandma, I guarantee you don't want to photograph her with a ton of wrinkles, because she'll beat you. But if you soften that light source, she'll thank you, because that's talking about eliminating some of those wrinkles in that shot. When I'm thinking about photographing anyone, I don't need to bring out 20 lights on set. I don't need to bring a single light on set. I guarantee if I walked outside right now, I can find a soft form of light no matter where I am in LA. Here's what I mean by that. If you walk outside, when you leave here, I encourage you to walk outside and go look at the shadows left by this building. If you step into the shadows and take a photograph of yourself, and you take a same photograph and you do it inside the light, what you're going to see is that the overall intensity of light is going to be less, but you're also going to have less contrast. It's going to be a flatter form of light because you're in shade. You don't have a direct light source. Write this down. This is homework. I'm not giving you options. Do this. 1, take selfie in shadows. 2, take selfie in sunlight. 3, take selfie when the light is hitting the building and it's a nice flat plane and that building bounces back at you. Here's what happens. That light source is hitting a giant building. That building is reflecting that light source back at you, but it's much larger than you are. And we'll talk about what that is now. But because it's larger, it starts softening that light back at you. So you're getting these beautiful tones all over your face. How many of you have, think about this for the next 2 or 3 seconds. How many of you have a north-facing window in your home or south-facing window? Raise your hands for me. No light goes through that window throughout any point of the day, right? Because it's north or south. That's going to be a very soft form of light because there's no direct light source going through that window. That is now your selfie window for the rest of your life or until you leave there because it's acting as a very large light source, and it's going to go ahead and make sure that there's no direct sunlight coming through that window directly at you. So it's going to soften that light source for you, right? We'll talk about what that looks like. So because we don't have a quantitative way of describing light, we just talk about how soft or harsh a light form is or how hard the light source is. So when I look at a photograph, I say, you know what? It's a very hard form of light. Can you soften that down? What I'm saying is, can you eliminate some of the contrast or bring down some of the contrast and make sure that it's more flat so I can focus on highlighting and hiding key areas? Those are things that I'm trying to do for that specific image. If I was saying I want a soft form of light, I'm saying I want a very large, soft form of light on my subject, meaning there's not overall contrast in the image. Does that make sense? Therapy, raise your hand if it didn't. I like honesty, I love this. Here's what we mean. I'm going to make it even easier. Soft light is one that doesn't have perfect transitions between highlights and shadows. You can't see definitive lines. Hard light is the one that you're going to see where you see defined lights and shadows. You can see the little shadows that are coming across in the image. So if I were to ask you, which image has hard light, right or left, what would you say? Why? The shadow of the glasses. You can see it really defined underneath his eyes. How about the left side? Do you guys see the graduation of the light? There's no defined line between highlights and shadows. It's a very soft form of light because the image on the left is taken with a 5-foot in diameter form of light. It's a very soft light source. It's not giving me a chance to create a harsh form of light, whereas the one on the right is taken with a small, little, tiny light source about that big. The smaller the light source is compared to your subject or yourself, the harsher that light's going to be. So because the sun is incredibly far away, doesn't matter how large it is, it's relatively smaller than we are in terms of distance, and therefore it's a harsher form of light. If we could survive and we didn't burn up, and you took the sun and you put it right next to the earth, it would be a much softer light source. There would be a lot more intensity of light, but it would be a much softer light source because it's starting to fill in some of those shadows underneath our faces because it's so large. Does that make sense to everyone? And I'll show you guys exactly what that looks like. Here. Now, light doesn't bend, so I want you to think about the concept that this is trying to convey, not so much the physics that it's trying to convey. A smaller light source has a more difficult time going around you as a human being, and therefore, you're going to see more overall shadows because of how many different light rays are going towards you, the fact that it can't wrap around. But the second I increase that light source, we're starting to soften that light, and it's softening the overall light source in the room, which is going to help me create a softer form of light, which is why images like this, even though I'm using a fairly small light source as a main light or as my one light setup in the front, I add a second light source to increase the amount of overall light and the size of the footprint of the light source that I'm using, meaning this is a 2-light setup, right? So we're using strobes. I'm using one above, one below to make sure that I'm eliminating or reducing some of those shadows. So as I'm shooting things, I'm thinking, how can we create a softer form of light for the things that we're trying to photograph? Softer light sources help us make us look younger. Unless you're photographing a caricature of someone and you want to show a ton of wrinkles, you generally want to go something that's soft. Does that make sense? If not, I always say it's therapy. We're here together. I'm here to help. Just raise your hand. Yell at me. I got you. So where does hard light come from? Again, hard light is coming from smaller light sources. You're getting something that's very harsh compared to you. The smaller that light source is compared to you, the harsher that's going to be. That's why when you use a flashlight on yourself, you get all your wrinkles. But if I take that same light source and I put it through a piece of paper, it starts softening the light. And I can practice that. You don't need to have photography equipment at home, because I guarantee each of you have one of these. Right? So here's what I would encourage you to do. You're going to look like a weirdo. Just go with it. I want you to go home, turn off your light, take your phone out, put on the flashlight. Take your hand, put it closer, move it away, put it closer, move it away, move it up, move it down, move it to the sides. Figure out what's happening to light. You're going to see that your overall shadows are going to start changing direction. They're also going to showcase more shadows and more contrast as you move that away. As you move it closer, you're going to start to see it's filling in some of those shadows underneath because we're increasing the distance, shortening the distance between my light and my subject, increasing the size and the footprint of this light source compared to my hand, and therefore it's going to be a smaller light source. Why does that matter? Because if you have wrinkles, get closer to the light. Make that light source larger compared to you. Does that make sense? I see a lot of, I just saved you guys a $100,000 education at photography school. Questions, comments, concerns so far? Questions? No questions. I'm not going to pick on you, I promise. We're all friends here. Yes?
I want to know that last image you showed.
Yep.
How close the light source was.
Here? We're seeing at a light source about, I would say about 4 feet from my subject. And it's, I would say about 3 feet in diameter for the bottom one. The top one is about 21 inches in overall diameter. So it's 21 inches compared to her at 3 or 4 feet away is still a very small light source compared to her. So it has a lot of contrast. Whereas if I had moved it closer to her, it would have a much softer light source, and I would have larger catch lights in the eyes as well. Speaking of catch lights are exactly what they sound like. They're those little lights in your eyes that you see in an image. I'm going to press back for a second. Who has more, where do your eyes go to first? Whose eyes? The one on the left or the one on the right? Okay? That's because the guy on the right-hand side has what I like to call shark eyes. They're dead. They're zombie eyes. There's no life to them. When I'm photographing anyone, I want to create attention to detail. I want to keep catch lights in the eyes. And catch lights are a reflective surface as a mirror on whatever is on the opposite side. Meaning, if I turn my back this way, the only catch light that I'm going to have is this light strip underneath. If that were not on, I wouldn't see anything if somebody was photographing me from the opposite side. If I turn around, I would see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all these different light sources reflecting back at my eyes. You would see a lot more attention to detail in my eyes. Your eyes would focus then and there. So the image on the left-hand side is a 5-foot, let me see, just to double check. That is a beauty dish for that specific shot. So we're seeing something that is 21 inches, but close to my subject, about 2 to 3 feet away from the subject. So you're getting a larger light source close to her, and I can see that reflection back at her, hence why you're focused on her. The image on the right-hand side, again, is a small little light source about that big, very far away. So we're not seeing that catch light in the eye. If you want to give yourself life, or if you want to photograph someone so they look amazing, you always want to make sure to have a catch light in the eye. How many of you wear glasses? Raise your hands for me. How many of you hate the fact that you have to take off your glasses because the photographer doesn't know how to eliminate those reflections? I wore glasses for a long time. Every time I took a photograph, I'd have glare, and it was the worst thing in the world. I'm going to give you a quick physics lesson, and then I'm going to go ahead and never say that again ever in my life. Not really in my life, because the next class I'll do, I'll say it again. After that, I'll simplify it. The angle of incidence equals the angle of reflection. I said it. What does it mean? It means that if I am at the direct angle of whatever light source is hitting that reflective surface, I'm going to be able to see what's on the opposite side. Here's what that means even simpler. When you go into the bathroom and you see yourself in a mirror, you're seeing yourself at the exact same angle inside the mirror. If I move over to the side, I can see anybody on the opposite side, right? So I can see that 45-degree angle for anyone that's over there. In this instance, my camera is me, my mirror is my glasses, and the opposite person is the light source. If I wanted to reduce or eliminate them from that scene, what I need to do is either move them left or right, so I'm not seeing them at the angle, move them behind me so that we're not at the same plane, move them up or move them down, but I don't want to see that reflective surface. And you can do that in a variety of different ways. The easiest way to make that happen is if I have the light source on that side, that light is bouncing, we're now seeing a wall here. So this is our mirror, our plane, our glasses, and it's bouncing back at me. It's simply just to turn my subject or turn myself so I'm not seeing that light source on the opposite side. If I don't see that light on the opposite side, physics says that I can't see it, there's no reflective surface, I don't have any catch lights in my eyes. The second easiest way to do that, aside from turning your head, is just to tilt your glasses down a little bit. You'll start reducing or eliminating some of those. If you can, so tilt your head up, tilt your head down, depending on what you're trying to photograph at, you'll start eliminating the direction that you're able to see those specific points. Practice that. It's a very simple thing to do. Take a selfie, figure out, okay, that light source is directly at me. If I photograph that, I can see the reflection. What if I just turn this way? Now I don't see the overall reflection from that light source. Yes, I'm going to have light coming from the side of me, but I don't see the flashlight, I see that specific angle. Maybe I'll move a little bit more. Can I see that anymore? Potentially not. But it's about making sure that I'm eliminating that from the reflection of my glasses. Is that simple? So if you get photographed professionally again and they ask you to take off your glasses, you're going to say, no, I know how to do this. I'm going to fix this for you.
Sorry,
Yep, shoot.
in that photo on the right,
Yep,
let's say the lighting setup was exactly how you wanted, but you wanted to add
Yep.
a catch light. What kind of light would you use and where would you put it?
it's a good question. So if I wanted to add a catch light in the image on the right-hand side, where would I put it? I would simply take that light source and move it down, I would say about 6 inches from where it is presently. So if you notice the shadow just under his nose, that means that it's slightly higher, right? Because shadows are going to be the opposite side of where that light source is. So to bring that light source down, make sure that it's flashing towards the camera, and then I would see a catch light in the eyes. So even the difference of 6 inches makes a huge difference in terms of catch lights.
Would you see that his glasses also?
Yes, absolutely. Because the glasses act as a reflective surface, just like the eyes. And because they're much larger, it's much easier to see the catch lights in there. Great questions. Image on the left-hand side, midday sun. Image on the right-hand side, controlled artificial light source that's a 5-foot wide in diameter light source. It's a very soft form of light. Again, it doesn't have to be studio versus natural light. You can still go outside, use a reflective surface, bounce it off a large building, and still have that large of a light source because it's a very soft form of light. Again, I encourage you to practice this as you're walking around the city. What does my face look like in this light? Okay, let me take a photograph. You don't have to post it anywhere, but you can practice. Okay, what does my face look like on this specific angle? What does my face look like over here? And just practice those different areas as you go out into light, as you go into overhead light, as you walk into any scene, kind of figuring that out for yourself. Color. All light has a different color, which is why if I open up those doors right now, and you guys use the light source that you have in here, and you're trying to photograph from what's outside as well, you might have a disparity between what your camera's trying to capture, whether that's the lights inside here or the lights that are happening out there. I'll show you guys what that looks like this. How many of you guys have taken a photo and you have orange lights, but everything outside is blue, and you're not sure why? I think all of us have been there. That's because the color temperatures of those lights are completely different. You have one that's fluorescent, and then you have one that's daylight. Fluorescent is what my camera is trying to capture because it's what's most prevalent in the image. Everything that's outside, because my camera is now shifting its white balance to match, to make those yellow lights white, will turn blue because of that. This is why when you look at LinkedIn and you see a bunch of green people, because they decided to take a photo at a bar, I know who you are, this is what you say. We all live on the same planet. It doesn't matter where you live. There's going to be a different color temperature depending on weather. There's going to be a different color temperature depending on time. All of that puts a huge amount of focus on changing the overall color. So from here, something that's daylight, to something like this that's now, let's say, glowing sun is a lot more orange. It's still on the same planet. We're not changing the planet here. But it's overall time, presence, location, all of that matters. If I go to the right, San Francisco, right, it's nice and cloudy. Yes, I get beautiful tones in my skin. It creates some really atmospheric images as well, but the color temperature is completely different compared to a couple hours before that day going up Route 1, right? Because there's no clouds out there. Even the difference of a couple, like 100 miles can make a huge difference depending on the image that you're trying to take. Why that matters. If you don't want to look green, you want to focus on eliminating multiple light sources that you have on a set or in an environment. So in an environment like this, I don't have those doors open. Usually what I would have you do is take your cameras out, face that door, see the light source outside, see all those lights that are happening overhead, and seeing what your camera has no idea what to do. In a situation like this, what I would say is take your camera and figure out which lights you're going to eliminate. If I have 2 different light sources and 2 different colors, I need to eliminate one. So if I have a fluorescent light and I have a tungsten light and I don't want my camera to be confused, let me turn off or hide one of those light sources. Just out of curiosity, how many of you have tungsten lights at home for your entire house? Nice, warm, glowy lights. Can you guys raise your hands for me? Awesome. How many of you have fluorescent lights, what you would see like at a medical place? I don't trust you guys. Psychos. No, I'm just joking. It's always funny to see the disparity between the two. But if you look at a building, you go to photograph a building with different color tones of light, some that are tungsten, some that are fluorescent, you're going to see a disparity that your camera's trying to figure out what's happening here, which is why I encourage you to use manual controls. Our cameras and our technology is incredible, but your brains are smarter, I hope. Use the tools for what they're used for, which is to make decisions for yourself. When I'm photographing a scene, how many of you have a DSLR or mirrorless camera at home? Can you guys raise your hands for me? Awesome. Remember that this is therapy. I will not judge you, unless you have fluorescent lights in your house. How many of you are still shooting on automatic on that camera? Raise your hands for me. Perfect. I always see a percentage of people that do. When you're shooting with a DSLR or mirrorless camera and you're shooting on automatic, you're giving it full controls of everything that you need to do. It's not the smartest thing in the world, so it's going to make decisions based on an overall exposure. You're not getting the full capabilities of using that camera that way. What you want to do is be able to control things like your aperture, your exposure, your ISO, and your white balance, so you can capture the things that you want to go ahead and create, which is why, generally speaking, if I'm going to take a portrait of something, or if I wanted to photograph a landscape that I want to show on Instagram, I don't use the camera that's built into my iPhone. I use Lightroom to make that happen, right from my iPhone as well, because I have full control over what I want to go ahead and take and capture. It also takes DNG profiles as well, so that way I have full quality for whatever I'm trying to photograph. Does that make sense? Okay. The other thing is to think about direction. As I mentioned before, monster light. If I hold a flashlight just under my chin, I'm going to scare little kids. It's what happens when you do monster light. It's not a natural form of light. But light has overall direction depending on where you put that, and that's going to change the overall impact of the image in terms of what that pattern looks like. So as an example, Two-Face from the Batman. I know you guys are all nerds too, but I'm showing my nerdiness here. Split face, thinking about that. One side has light, one side has dark. Whereas flat light, I have no shadows underneath my nose, no shadows underneath my chin, because it's directly flat and plain to me. I'll show you guys what that looks like. I'm not going to just explain that to you. But flat light, by the way, I know a lot of you are better artists than I am. That's what I got. This is why I'm a photographer. Flat light is when I don't have shadows under my nose, I don't have shadows under my chin. It's a very forgiving form of light. If you're scared of showing wrinkles, what you want to do is keep that light source slightly plane to your face and slightly neutrally plane. Anytime it's above, shadows or the absence of light, you're going to see all those little bags into your eyes. You're going to see all those little pieces underneath, which is why when I say go to that north-facing window, as I mentioned before, make sure it's nice and flat to your face, so it's nice and soft and glowy. Split light's going to be when that light source is over to your left or over to your right, and it's going to bring light directly at your face. So it's 90 degrees over to you. What that's going to do is going to rake light across your face. If you do have any blemishes on the opposite side, they're going to be showcased because it's just creating shadows on the exact opposite side. Even if you're not trying to create this form of light, just think, how can I avoid this type of light? So think bigger picture here. Okay, that light source is over to my right. Don't want that. I can see wrinkles on this side. Let me just turn this way slightly. Does that make sense? Okay. Loop lighting, just a little loop under the nose. Anything that's going to keep that little tiny loop underneath is going to create a really interesting and impactful image, but I'm still going to see shadows on my left side or my right side and slightly under my nose. It's something that most photographers use in terms of like a traditional portrait is generally loop lighting or Rembrandt lighting. Just out of curiosity, how many of you went to art school? Do you guys don't know what that is? It's still used in photography until today. We're still using Rembrandt lighting in order to create a lot of depth in the image and create something that looks beautiful and traditional. Our last pattern of light that I'll discuss today is butterfly lighting, which is going to keep a little shadow just under your nose. And that's usually, it's also called paramount, when that light's just above, facing 45 degrees down at you, and you get that little shadow just under your nose, which is created from the tips of your nose, your nostril shadows and the tip of your nose. That's creating that little butterfly underneath. So as an example, the young lady on the right-hand side, if you look just under her nose and you pay attention, you see that little butterfly that's happening there? That's what we're talking about is butterfly lighting. That's when that light source is directly 45 degrees at you. That's going to create something that's going to hint, hint, wink, wink, carve out your cheekbones. And it's really going to help you enhance those cheekbones, which is going to make you look a lot thinner in camera than you otherwise would look. Does that make sense? Okay. I gave you Lighting 101. I saved you a $100,000 education going to photo school. You guys have that. Let's talk about posing. How many of you have no idea what to do with your hands in a photograph and just feel weird and awkward? If not all of you, it feels awkward. Taking a photograph with anyone can feel awkward, but if you know how to pose yourself better, you can make yourself look taller, thinner compared to everyone else. The idea here is to make yourself look better than every single other person in that photograph. Draw the attention on them so you look amazing. Here's what I mean by that. If you see photographs of me, and I photograph myself with other people, I always sit approximately a foot behind them. So they look bigger in camera than I am. I'm 6'3". If I sit like 1 foot behind you, we still look normal size. I don't look tiny. You sit in front, you look larger than I do. It's a good day. You did me justice, right? Those are things I'm considering. But when we talk about posing, negative space is incredibly valuable. Does everybody know what negative space is? I wanted to see no's, because then I knew if you was treating this like therapy or not. Negative space means negative space from the body. If I keep my hands to my sides, do I look very wide? If I do this, do I look thinner than I did before? Because I have negative space on my body. I'm not putting my arms flat to myself. My visual width isn't as wide compared to what it was before. So when you take a photograph and you're like this, you have no negative space, I guarantee you're going to look wide. Women, I love you guys. Stop doing this. I know all of you do it. What you want to do is hand on your hip, negative space, turning, shifting your body at almost a 45-degree angle. I see photographs happening here. If this goes on Instagram, I hate you. Turning your body 45 degrees, right? Tummy in, chest out. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Whatever's closest to the camera is always going to be largest. I'll say that again. Whatever's closest to the camera will be largest. Chest out. Tummy back. 45 degrees. And always negative space. Not here, not back here. Here, there's not much negative space. Out. Right? As I'm doing that. Chin out, chin down. Right? And I can hug somebody from about a foot behind them. I'm going to look 20 pounds lighter, and I have a lot of negative space, and everything looks glorious. Men, it's no different. Usually what I recommend is, don't do this, first of all. Everybody does this. Don't bro hug. That's also weird. Right? When I'm taking a photograph of anyone, for me it's about being comfortable, feeling like we're building a relationship together. You're able to see, like if I was going to take a photo with my boss, as an example, and he's sitting next to me, I would still I don't have to touch him. I can put my hand behind him, and it looks like my hand's on him. But the next thing I'm going to do is tummy back, hand in pocket, right? But I can keep my thumb out. By the way, body language. If my thumb's out, it's usually like I'm comfortable, but I'm still cocky. That's always been the premise. By the way, if you guys haven't read the book, The Subtle Art of, what is it? The Definitive Book of Body Language. Read that book. It's amazing. It'll teach you how to have better body language, what to express, what things are happening in terms of communication. And we'll talk about what I'm doing here to build a better relationship with you momentarily. But hand in pocket, thumb out. Tummy back, chest out. Turning to the side, I now have a more triangular shape than I had before. Men, you want to keep that triangular shape. That's generally what we have when we're photographing a man's body. Nice broad shoulders, smaller tummy. I always have my leg out. You always notice guys, friends of mine make fun of me all the time. They're like, why is your leg out? Because I'm creating negative space, so I don't have chicken legs. Right? So I'm giving myself a stance. As I'm coming in, just giving them a hug. Right? At the end of the day, do I look comfortable? Do I look confident? Do I have negative space? That's what I care about when I'm photographing myself with anyone else. So from now on, if you ever see a selfie of me, I will always do this. I'm like, hey, how's it going? Yep, he's my chubby friend because he's flat in a plane and I'm not going to pose him correctly. So he looks a lot worse than I do in this shot. That's what I go with. I'm a terrible friend. Body language is so critical as a photographer because it can change the conversation that we're having with the image. And what I mean by that is this. If I sat here during this whole presentation and I did this, I was like, hey guys, how are you guys? How you guys doing? Do I look comfortable or confident? No. If I sat here the whole time and I was like, hey, how you guys doing? How's everything going? Do I look comfortable or confident? No. Notice what I do. I have two poses I generally go to. It's going to sound like I'm manipulating you guys. Kind of am. Where's my hands? Here. Where are they? Open. Do I have anything to hide? Assume that I'm telling the truth the whole time. I could have lied to you this whole presentation. But that's what I'm conveying, is that I have nothing to hide. The other thing that I do is when I talk to you guys, I do this. What comic book superhero is famous for this? Superman, Spider-Man. That was a good, generally it's Superman, we'll go with that first. Chest out, arms to sides. I'm confident in everything that I have to say. I'm not protecting my vitals. As a human being, right, we're still creatures and animals, right? So in terms of being scientific, if we look at ourselves as a whole, I'm not hiding anything of my vitals. I'm very confident where I am right now. I feel like I can answer any questions that you guys have. Chest out, tummy in, notice. Right? when I'm taking a photograph of anyone, I want to figure out what body language are you trying to communicate? What is it that you're trying to showcase? If I pose with my hands at my feet together, and I did this, I don't look very comfortable or confident. If I did this, and I put my arms to my sides, I look very militaristic. And if I sat there and walked back and forth the whole time, you feel like I was leading an army, right? It's all about confidence and communication and body language. Here's what I mean by that as well. When most people pose in a seat, ladies, this is your first go-to. Every single photograph when you're on a seat. Men, take a photo of me. But what happens here? It's a lot of love. Sit back, sit forward. I still sit this way, like I still cross and I still cross over, because that's giving me confidence and it's at least hiding some of the extra love that I have, and I'm comfortable in this specific area. So as an example, when we talk about comfort sitting on something, you guys ever seen James Dean standing up straight? Ever? What did he do? He slouched on everything as a human being. He laid across anything at the most horizontal plane that he can be as a human being. I still don't know how he lived his whole life like that. But every single photograph is the same way. When we talk about body language and we talk about positioning, when you lean across something, what you're doing, like if I did this before, and you guys have seen me when I was leaning on here, and I do this, do I look comfortable? This is mine. This doesn't belong to anybody else. I feel this is my house. I feel comfortable here. I'm claiming ownership over this, and I feel very comfortable with what's happening here, right? I'm conveying my comfort. The same way, if I sat here on this seat, the difference between this and the difference between this, and you'll always see me, if you find me anywhere as a normal human being, do I look more comfortable like this? Would I take a professional photo like this? Probably not. But body language dictates that I'm a lot more comfortable. Even the difference of environment. When I spread my legs shoulder width apart and I'm taking a photograph, this is my spot. I'm claiming ownership of this. If you're taking a photograph of someone, the more width that you have between your legs, the more you're claiming ownership of the area that you're being photographed in. So if I'm doing this and I'm hugging someone and I'm turning my body to my side, what I'm trying to do is keep as much distance between my legs as I can so I look like I'm comfortable and confident in this spot. Right? It's about that body language as well. I encourage you, I have 2 editions of the same book. The Definitive Book of Body Language is an amazing thing to learn. It's why when you have 2 world leaders, everyone fights for that side. Can I borrow you for a second? Do you mind coming on stage with me for a few seconds? Woo! Can you guys give her a round of applause? Thank you very, very much. Do you want to introduce yourself? No. At least she's honest, that's all that matters. So, think about world politicians. If we were to take a photograph together, and I do this, who has power and dominance in that photograph? Her. Why? She's the one on the outside. She's dominating me, right? This is why Donald Trump tends to like this side. If I run to this side, how are you? How's life been? If I wanted to show domineering over that shot, which side do I need to be on? On this side. Start watching politicians. When someone takes that photograph, they always want to make sure they're on this side. Because every time they're on that side, they're the ones that are in power in that specific shot. And you might not notice it naturally and instinctually, but that's what they're trying to do because that's a good media play. So if I have the President of the United States meeting somebody from another country, I want to show that I got this guy. This guy's mine, right? He's now submissive to me. It's just something else to consider. Thank you very, very much for not introducing yourself. Does that make sense to everybody? So if you want a power play at work, that's your secret. You take photographs, you want to look awesome, you want to look like you're having an environment where you're the person leading the conversation, opposite side. Always make sure that your hand is over that person, giving a handshake, and taking that shot that way. Does that make sense to everyone? Okay. This gentleman here, when we talk about negative space, is a good friend of mine as well, had just recently lost 100 pounds, which is an amazing thing for anyone. And for this specific shot, he's the exact same weight. There's no Photoshop for these specific 2 shots. What there is something called negative space, as we discussed before. The difference of me putting my hands to my sides versus turning myself 45 degrees, giving myself a little bit of negative space, how much weight, visual weight did he lose from the left image to the right image? This is what we're talking about here. It's not just a concept, it's something that you can use to take better photographs so you don't look as wide. Generally speaking, solid colors definitely help you look thinner. Avoiding certain patterns makes you look thinner. If you're gonna take a professional photograph as an example, blazers and a white shirt are amazing because that blazer, a black blazer with a white shirt underneath, is that visual contrast, right? You look a lot thinner than you really are, and add some of that negative space and you're good to go. You're losing 20 pounds right off the bat. Those are things to consider as you're taking images of people. We talked about perceived flaws. I'm gonna move this back because if not, I will trip over it. Perceived flaws. We talked about perceived flaws. Now, on top of talking about my ears and being a Volkswagen door with a Beetle with the doors open, my family has always, like all of us have 5 heads. Think about that. 5 fingers for a forehead. And it's something we always picked on each other on as a kid. Like, we always made fun of one another. We all have those perceived flaws about ourselves, right? Even if no one else sees it, you still remember it because you're like, oh, I have this thing and no one else sees it but you. Well, I photograph many people with a lot of different quote-unquote problems, perceived flaws, if you will. And not all of them are noticeable. But as an example, I have a gentleman here who has rosacea. Now, here's the thing. I'm about to take his photograph. I don't care. I don't see him for rosacea. I see him for who he is as a human being. He's one of the kindest people that you meet in the world, right? So for me, that matters more. But as a photographer, I'm critically aware that people have their own anxiety for their perceived flaws. So in a case like this, I go, hey, what do you love about yourself? I love my eyes. What else do you love about myself? I don't know, just, can you do something about my skin? What do you mean? I have redness and it breaks out every now and then. What can you do for that? You know, what can you do to fix that? Now I can run to Photoshop and obviously fix it, but lighting also plays a critical role into hiding or masking some of that. So what I did was use a reflective surface on the opposite side, not use as many shadows, and that's starting to lighten up some of those key areas. Do you guys see how quick that was? So I'll do that one more time. Left to right. Light will help hide and mask redness because the more your image is dark, the more saturation is going to be present. Your exposure changes the overall appearance of saturation in the image. It's why when I go to an image and I lower my exposure, everything looks like it has slightly more color versus when I raise it, it looks kind of washed out. Same thing with skin tones. So I don't have to jump to Photoshop right away. If he's comfortable with this specific shot, we can work on this image, but lighting definitely helps make that happen. Next. He was born with a cleft lip. Brian is an amazing human being by all means, but he has his own fair share of personal body issues, right? He's a heavier guy, so the first thing that we worked on with him was discussing clothing, right? So if you look at that specific shot, notice he's wearing a V-neck. If he just wore complete black, he would look like a wide mass. So using that V-neck helps him look thinner in that specific shot. The next thing that we're talking about is the cleft lip. For him, he's had it all his life. And I have kind of this personal rule that I go with. Are you guys familiar with Terry White? Amazing human being, right? This is someone who gave me this insight years and years and years ago, which was in Photoshop. If you're not shooting something that's a commercial client, if you're just shooting a regular person, if it's temporary, get rid of it. If it's permanent, leave it. Because if not, what you're doing is you're creating insecurities for people. How many of you have scars underneath your chin? Awesome. A lot of you. Statistically speaking, a lot of you have scars underneath your chin, whether that was from ice hockey or football or, I don't know why ice hockey was the first thing I went through, out of all things. Baseball, whatever it was that you hurt your chin underneath. If I remove that as an example, you would know. You've had it all your life. How many of you have scars on your face right now that you've had for decades? Most of you. If I got rid of it, you would know. It's not who you are as a human being. So my job is not to remove that, but if he has issues with it, to help enlighten those enough not to hide that. So for this specific shot, as an example, move over to the right-hand side. Adding a little light helps eliminate some of the contrast and fill in some of the shadows in that area so you don't see it as much. I don't have to jump to Photoshop to make that that change happen. Does that make sense? How many of you currently are retouchers? Raise your hands for me. Awesome. You guys are going to hate me for what I'm going to show. But I want to show you guys how to remove some of the redness out of the skin for those of you that have never used Photoshop before, or for some of you that are not the most privy to advanced retouching techniques. It's a very simple way that I've learned to eliminate some of that, especially if you're not the most efficient Photoshop user. So would you guys mind to walk through that with me? And also, I request that you guys just grab out your cell phones, take the screenshots, because it's a very simple process that you can use to eliminate some of the redness in your skin. Okay? Let's do this. Retouchers are going to be like, I'm walking out. Forget this guy. Okay. There's a million different ways to quote-unquote skin a cat. You should never do that, by the way. Not a good idea. I don't know why that's even a term people use, but it is. Okay, let's grab this one here. Open with, let's open up Photoshop. Okay, so right off the bat, what I'm looking to do is reduce or eliminate some of the reds in the skin, right? And what I use is called a non-destructive editing workflow, meaning I'm not eliminating or changing the original photograph. I keep everything in layers so that I'm able to reduce or eliminate key areas. If I need to go back and lessen something or eliminate it, I'm not having to do the whole image over again. So non-destructive in that way. So for redness, the first thing I want to do, let me just enlarge the screen, just to make it easier for everybody, is go to my adjustments, head over to hue saturation, and what I'm looking to change is what color? Red. If I'm not sure what color I want to go ahead and eliminate, I click here, select the area that I think is appropriate, and click that specific area that I'm trying to change. In this case, that's red. The next thing I'll do is increase my overall saturation to 100%, which makes no sense whatsoever just yet. Bear with me. What I can do now is change my sliders to isolate what area of red I'm trying to change. Can you guys see as I move that to the left and to the right, it's starting to change key areas? If I move it all the way to the left, the only thing that's getting changed is the areas in his shirt, not the areas on his face. But if I increase that, now I'm starting to reduce or eliminate some of the red areas in his face. Then I can go ahead and select on both sides of that just to further select the area that I'm trying to change. Let's go ahead and eliminate that right about there. So I know that these are the red tones that I'm trying to eliminate in the whole image. I've now isolated those because they're at 100% opacity. I'm going to lower my saturation to 100 because I don't want to see all the reds. That was just a guideline and a baseline to know what I was changing. Now I'm going to change my hue and change the red and add some other tones like blue to reduce or eliminate them. Subtle change so far. Now here's the problem. It didn't just change those specific areas. There are areas that are also like his eyes and his shirt and other things that are being changed. In that case, what I use is making sure that I have a layer mask above. I'm going to invert that layer, so Command-I, and use my paintbrush tool on white to reveal the tones that I'm actually trying to change. And I go through here, and I can paint that, and 1, 2, 1, 2. If I need to go ahead and add a little bit more, let's go back to reds. I can do that. That subtle change. 1, 2, 1, 2. How much Photoshop time do you think that would take if I wasn't explaining it? Seconds? I could probably do that in about a minute in terms of being able to change that. And I didn't have to sit there and retouch the entire image if I wasn't proficient at Photoshop. And again, those of you that are retouchers, this isn't something that you're going to be able to utilize for yourself. I understand that you guys have more advanced techniques to be able to utilize, but for those of you that are just using Photoshop for your first time and you haven't hired a professional retoucher, this is something that you can do at home to feel comfortable changing some of those reds. I would say if you're getting to a commercial level quality retouch, I will outsource to you every single day. But if it's for a selfie and you just want to eliminate some of the redness, this is the way you make that happen. Okay? Now we talk about the eyes. In this specific shot, I personally think the eyes are very dull and very muted. The secret to good retouching, in my perspective, has always been subtle changes, nothing dramatic. I don't want anyone to look like an anime shot. I don't want them to look like a comic book. I want it to be subtle changes to have huge impact. So there are a couple things that I want to work towards, and let me explain them before I actually start doing them. First, ladies, how many of you are currently contouring your skin? Raise your hands for me. What is contouring? Changing the overall appearance of your shape to enhance certain key features. So as an example, if I want beautiful cheekbones, I just darken up my cheekbones. Men, how many of you wear makeup at the present moment? Exactly. 1 or 2. Most of you aren't. So if I wanted to go ahead and make somebody look like they had more defined cheekbones, which helps them make them look thinner in camera, in order to do that, what I need to do is darken down the cheekbones. The second thing to think about this shot is I want to go ahead and enhance his eyes slightly, because to me they're dull and muted. 2 really quick things that I can do simply by using exposure or curves to make those things happen, and using 2 curve adjustment layers. 1 to darken out his cheekbones, 1 to highlight his eyes. So effectively, the easiest way for me to do that is to create 2 curve adjustment layers. Curves and curves. I'm using a trackpad, which I never use. We're just going to go with this for right now. The first one I'm going to say is eyes. The second one I'm going to say is cheekbones. On the cheekbones, I'm going to go ahead and just look at my adjustment layer. What I want to go ahead and do is just lower the overall exposure of the entire image, making sure that I'm darkening that, looking at the relationship, the blend mode rather, and make sure it's set to luminosity. Luminosity is only going to change the overall exposure of the image, not changing some of the saturation inside that shot. So as an example, if I drag down again, the colors are staying consistent, but the overall appearance of exposure is being changed. So I just want that to be slightly darker. I'm going to go to that and just invert that layer. So I'm hiding my changes so far. Going to eyes, doing the exact opposite. So increasing some of the overall exposure, inverting that layer, and changing the blend mode to luminosity. Now on cheekbones, I just grab my paintbrush tool, make sure that I'm set to 100% opacity and a very low flow, so it's a nice gradual change, and I'm literally just going to start enhancing his cheekbones and just darkening those things down, the same way I would with makeup if we had a makeup artist on set. Do that here, and you're like, what is he changing? Painting that over. 1, 2, 1, 2. Do you guys see how I start visually narrowing down his face? How much liquefied did I use? 0. But the overall width of his face starts shortening down because we're changing the difference between lights and shadows in the image to focus on key areas. If I focus on his eyes and do the same thing with his eyes, all I want to do is those subtle changes as we discussed before. Maybe I want to go ahead and zoom in there. Do you guys see me in the photograph? It's so funny. It's the coolest thing about being in photographs. I'm in all of them. I'm like, that's a selfie is all it is. A selfie of my clients. 1, 2, 1, 2. I tend to overdo things the first time I do them when I'm enhancing eyes. So as a rule of thumb, I usually eliminate about 20 to 30% of my changes. 2. So in a couple seconds, here's what we have so far. Do you guys see all the visual interest to his eyes? Your eyes focus on his. His cheekbones start to be narrowed. We start focusing on those key areas, right? And I can start bringing attention to those key areas as well. I would say, aside from eyes, maybe lightening up some of these areas right around here. So 1, 2, 1, 2. The lighter those key areas are, the less I'm going to see wrinkles. So a client like this, if they're a little cautious about their wrinkles and they want to go ahead and maybe lightening those things down, I'm going to add one more layer. Retouchers, close your eyes. You never saw this. I'm going to add a new layer. I'm going to go to my clone stamp tool, head over to lighten. And I don't want to eliminate wrinkles. If you do that, he looks like a porcelain doll. All we're going to do is hold my Option key, go to a lighter area, drag over those wrinkles. Same thing on the opposite side. I'm going to change my blend mode on layer 1, so this is going to be wrinkles. 2, lighten. And now I'm only manipulating the darker tones to make them lighter. I'm not changing the lighter tones to make them darker. The difference is 1, 2, 1, 2. Where do you guys see the change in the overall wrinkles? So we're lightening some of those areas. So we're not eliminating them. By lightening them, they look less intense, and we're able to focus more so on his skin. In a couple seconds, this is what we have so far. 2, 1, 2. It's a very simple way to get a lot of impact in your image in a way that's going to help you just focus on those key areas. If you need anything additional to that, I would start, and again, just so you guys know, as my perspective, I forgot that this was here. In my perspective, as I'm looking around this image, I would absolutely remove any dry skin I would see in the image. This bothers me. He doesn't need to know that I'm going to eliminate that. I wouldn't remove areas like this because he's had that all his life. Unless he asked me to go ahead and eliminate that, that's not something I would go ahead and do. I would probably, anything that I see around these areas, I wouldn't eliminate unless he's asked me. Blemishes like pimples and things, I would go ahead and remove. Just a very basic way to look at this as well is, again, anything that is temporary, eliminate. Anything that is permanent, remove. If I wanted to go ahead and eliminate some of the hairs, men, trimmer, please. Brand new layer, healing brush. Make sure that my sample layer is current and below. It's on its own independent layer, so we're going to say nose hairs. And all I need to do is just select that specific area. Photoshop does a really good job at nose hair selected, at using its algorithms to reduce or eliminate anything that I see there. In a couple quick seconds, I can eliminate that. Now, it's on its own independent layer, so if I feel like I did a muddy job, I can just delete those small changes. Notice I'm not editing on the original layer. It's allowing me to just reduce or eliminate that specific shot. So each of them have their own, every change that I make has its own independent layer. So I can go back to it, remove it, eliminate it, do what I need to do for that specific shot. With that, questions, comments, concerns, complaints? Yes?
What's your workflow for teeth?
Ooh, teeth. This is going to be fun. Anybody want white teeth? Complete white teeth. Same thing that we did before. Changes are head over to hue saturation, select these tones which are yellow or red, depending on what you're trying to change. In this case, it is yellow, making sure that those are changed. I wouldn't desaturate. I would use just a slight more blue or yellow, depending on what you're trying to change, and maybe a tiny bit of saturation from there. Now, I've changed all the yellows in the image. So I want to make sure that my layer mask is inverted, and I'm just working on the teeth. And I can do that by just doing this. You see the whitening happening already? Because I added a little bit slight blue. So 1, 2, 1, 2. Again, 2, 1, 2. No one's ever going to find him in a missing report. If he went missing, no one's going to know who he is. Anyway, I digress. I think we have 1 minute left. I just want to thank each and every one of you for being part of the class and for your time and attention and waking up at 7 o'clock in the morning. Thank you guys for your time, and I hope you have an amazing Max.